right. All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Thanks everybody for being here. I just want to mention real quick, as you can tell from the camera equipment, something new is we're going to record our meetings and post them on our YouTube channel within a day or two. I think is the plan. So I just want everybody to be aware that the meeting is being recorded. So we have an agenda. First, we'll do our moment of silence. Please join me. Okay, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have a draft agenda in front of us. I have a motion to approve. Motion by Christie, second by Kelly. All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, up first is our recognition.
Thank you, and we will this month have recognition of our Students of the Month from both January and February. And so we'll ask Stephen to start the video.
Samantha attended Parkside Elementary. Her parents' names are Jamie and John. She has a sister named Ellie. Samantha has a dog named Bo and a bunny named Marshmallow. She enjoys skating, volleyball, and reading.
It means a lot because I really want to make my sister proud of me.
Nolan is the son of Mark and Julie. His siblings are Ethan and Grace. Nolan went to Crestwood Elementary and has a dog named Clover. He enjoys playing basketball, football, and soccer, and also enjoys playing video games, and also enjoys time with his friends in the hall.
I'm very grateful and proud that my hard work has paid off.
Lucy attended Canonsburg Elementary. Her parents are Jane and Nathan. She has a sister named Abby. Lucy has a pet Labrador named Jasper J. She enjoys drawing, painting, tennis, and playing board games. Her favorite subject is social studies.
I don't really know. I'm proud and thankful. I'm also very grateful. I just really appreciate it.
Cool.
Miles is the son of Lillian and Caleb. He has an older brother named Jasper and a younger brother named Isaac. He has a dog named Albus. Miles went to Crestwood Elementary. He enjoys drawing and reading. His favorite subjects are social studies and orchestra.
I am honored and thankful.
Lucy attended Crestwood Elementary School. Her parents are Nathan and Elise. She has two sisters, Lola and Lily. She also has a dog named Oliver. Lucy enjoys swimming, running, and water polo.
I really appreciate being nominated because it shows that others appreciate my respectfulness.
Emma is the daughter of Rob and Andrea. She has one sister, Evie. Emma has a dog named Bandit and two cats, one named Boots and the other named Doja. Emma went to Parkside Elementary. She enjoys cheerleading, hanging out with friends and family, and traveling. She's a strong advocate for those who struggle to do so for themselves.
To me, it means that you're showing everyone kindness and respect for who they are.
Leo is the son of Eric and Caitlin. Leo has three siblings, Lily, Miles, and Charlie, and one cat named Clementine. He went to Parkside Elementary, and he enjoys FIFA, playing games, losing weight, and watching Family Guy.
When you stand up for yourself, others, being nice, like that.
Avery is the daughter of Amy and Scott. Avery attended Belmont Elementary School. She has a dog named Nellie. Avery enjoys swimming, biking, painting, and playing outside.
I'm very grateful and proud.
Adam attended Belmont Elementary School. His parents are Jen and David. He has two sisters, Kelsey and Sarah, and a dog named Bella. Adam enjoys playing video games with his friends, watching anime, and biking.
I'm really grateful because I always try hard in my grades to get these kind of awards, so it means a lot.
Lucy's parents are Meg and Aaron and Rebecca. Lucy went to Lakes Elementary School. She has two siblings, Aubrey and Jack. She has two dogs, Torvy and Busby. Lucy loves basketball.
I'm really thankful and honored.
Julian attended Crestwood Elementary. His parents are Jed and Mandy. He has two siblings, Owen and Daniela, and a dog named Bijou. Julian is passionate about music, particularly playing the clarinet, and he enjoys playing tennis and participating in Boy Scouts.
I'm very thankful and grateful that I got chosen for this award.
Adrian H. is a 6th grade student from our Cronin and Long team. Parents are Michelle and Ryan. Adrian has one sibling named Jacob, as well as a turtle named Cheez-It. Adrian attended Valley View Elementary School and is active in hockey, lacrosse, and plays tuba in the band.
When I grow up, I want to do something that has to do with architecture and hockey. I think it means to me that I get to show people how working hard is good for the community, and it helps other people know what they're trying to do.
Oliver B. is a 6th grade student from our Cronin and Long team. Parents are Sarah and Peter. Oliver has 3 siblings named Ben, Henry, and Ezra, as well as a cat named Chloe. Oliver attended Belmont Elementary School and plays the saxophone in the band.
My favorite thing about school is that I get to spend time with my friends and talk to them, have fun. It means to me that I can be known as a role model to other people.
Stella D. is a 6th grade student from our Marlowe and Van Oss team. Parents are Christine and Trent, and they have a dog named Henry. Stella attended Roguewood Elementary School and is active in OM, drama club, and plays French horn in the band.
Favorite thing about school is seeing my friends and seeing my teachers. For me, it means that my work has paid off and that I can be a role model.
Noah B. is a 6th grade student from our Marlowe and Van Oss team. Parents are Nikki and Brian. Noah has 2 siblings named Owen and Ethan, as well as 2 labs named Tucker and Ray. Noah attended Eisenhower Elementary School in Indiana. Noah plays soccer and trumpet in the band.
My favorite thing about school is band, because I really like playing my instrument, and also PE because I like physical exercise and sports. Not been for nothing, and that I'm going in the right direction.
Annalie S. is a 7th grade student. Parents are Amy and Yusi. Annalie has 2 cats named Kerma and Piku. Annalie attended Roguewood Elementary School and is active in dance, piano, and plays viola in the band.
My favorite thing about school is orchestra. It means that I've been recognized for my hard work and I should keep doing what I'm doing.
Keegan S. is a 7th grade student. Parents are Rebecca and John. Keegan has 3 siblings named Jessica, Shay, and Thomas, as well as a cat named Maisie and several chickens. Keegan attended Belmont Elementary School and is active in soccer, track and field, and plays trombone in the band.
I think when I grow up, I would like to be an engineer of some sort or a professional soccer player. I think that it means that people can see me in a little different eyes than just...
Ruby T. is a 7th grade student. Parents are Bethany and Tony. Ruby has 1 sibling named May, as well as a dog named Ozzy. Ruby attended Valley View Elementary and is active in drama club, water polo, and sings in the choir.
My favorite thing about school is probably choir and their performances. I really like performing in choir. It means that I'm doing well in school and that my hard work is paying off, and I like that a lot.
Will G. is a 7th grade student. Parents are Sue and Greg. Will has 1 sibling named Isabel. Will attended Valley View Elementary School and is active in swimming, water polo, and baseball.
My favorite thing is being in math and then also hanging out with friends. It would be to be a role model to all my friends and how I've been heading in the right direction for all my work.
Isabella N. is an 8th grade student. Parents are Brianna and Steven. Isabel has 3 siblings named Gabe, Isaac, and Isaiah, as well as 2 rabbits named Toffee and Ginger, and a dog named Maddie. Isabella attended Valley View Elementary School and is active in dance.
My favorite thing about school is definitely seeing my friends and learning something new every day. It means a lot to me because that means I've met my priorities of being a leader and that I can be a role model to younger grades.
Nick H. is an 8th grade student. Parents are Erica and Caleb. Nick has 1 sibling named Natalie, as well as a dog named Sansa. Nick attended Belmont Elementary School and is active in esports.
When I grow up, I want to be a chef or a private chef, or work in a restaurant where I have to cook. Student of the Month means to me that I've been going in the right direction and that I know I'm doing good.
Tess L. is an 8th grade student. Parents are Amy and Gavin. Tess attended Valley View Elementary School and is active in softball and enjoys hanging out with friends.
My favorite thing about school is hanging out with my friends and being in math class. to me to be selected as Student of the Month. It means that my hard work is paid off and I am putting 100% effort in school.
Lucas E. is an 8th grade student. Parents are Amber and Jeff. Lucas has 2 siblings named Jacob and Caleb. Lucas attended Valley View Elementary School and is active in cross country, coding club, playing video games, and plays trumpet in the band.
When I grow up, I want to be either an engineer or an architect. Being Student of the Month means that I'm doing good helping people and that I'm on the right track.
Thank you so much for coming tonight. We really appreciate it. Congratulations on all your hard work, and keep it up. Good job. And we'll pause for just a moment. If anybody would like to take this opportunity to exit the meeting, you're more than welcome to do that now. If you'd like to stay, you're of course more than welcome to do that as well. Okay, up next then is our consent agenda items. We have 4 items on the consent agenda tonight. Winter coaches, approval of minutes from January 9th and January 24th meetings, presentation of bills, and petition to strike the WIC taxes. I have a motion. Nick? Kelly, support. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay. Up next is reports. First is our student representative, Olivia.
Go ahead. Hi, everyone. So, first off, I'd like to recognize our Groups for Haiti game that we had, I think, a week or 2 back. We had a really great turnout. This is always something really, really good for our school. Something good that everyone always supports, and great turnout. There was a bunch of students there. We won against Hudsonville, which is awesome. Winter Wishes, we finished that this week. It was a big program at our school. This is just one of the things that we had. I had the section of flowers, and I had just like other stuff. And we had flowers for 35 different people. And then Miss Fowle, she was gifted flowers, and she started crying. So it was just something nice to make everyone's day. And we had people go out and get food and clothes and gift cards, and it was just awesome just to make someone's day, just give them a little pick-me-up. And then candygrams, we sold candygrams at all 3 lunches last week. We sold 250 candygrams this year, which is a lot compared to last year. And then we will be delivering them tomorrow, February 14th for Valentine's Day. And then the spring play is coming up. It's Shrek musical. The shows begin March 10th and they go through March 19th. And you can purchase tickets on rocktix.org. And there's going to be different times for those shows. I'm not sure when, but there's going to be multiple different times. Boys wrestling, they won district champs last week, and then 10 of those boys have made it to regionals this year to compete, which is awesome. And then boys hockey, I forgot to mention this last month, but over Christmas break, the hockey team did a Toys for Tots program. They all showed up, and we helped out, I think, over 1,000 families this year for Christmas, which was awesome. It was the whole team and their family, and then they also competed this weekend on Saturday against Kenwood Hills, and they won 3-2. And then the varsity dance team made it to nationals they went to nationals this week, and they were also finalists of the competition, and then they won 9th in nationals in hip hop and varsity pump, so they did awesome representing our school, and it's like varsity history. They've never done that before, so I think that's awesome. So yeah. Any questions? Kind of short, but
Questions? All right. Thank you very much. Good job. Okay, up next is collaborative team reports.
Thank you. Tonight we have an elementary and a secondary report, and Tana Cotter, principal at Rockford Elementary, will present our elementary report.
Yeah, and Lisa and I decided to tag team this in a little different fashion tonight, so we're going to be talking about Rockford Public Schools and the ways that we are growing students, growing our staff, growing our families, and supporting our community. So we're excited to be here. Thank you, Board of Education, for having us tonight. First, growing our students in Rockford Public Schools. Right now we are practicing positive behaviors. The focus for PBIS is kindness and gratitude this month. Our freshmen will be making course requests for their sophomore year in the next week, so we're really excited for those students. Our college and career team, they've been working with the elective teachers to have as guest speakers. That's new this year, so thanks to Derek Dillon and Eric Cavalli for making that positive addition to our program. Shout out to them. Also, our students are working on fulfilling their 4-year requirement for math at the high school level. And what that looks like for some of our students is that they need additional interventions. So the building consultation team has been working to support all students making that happen. And that's more challenging for some. So we're excited to have the opportunity to support them. Our students in the district, and especially at the elementary level, had some opportunity to learn through Black History Month. And we talked about, at Rockford specifically, about leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. that are shaping the future. And we talked about Malala Yousafzai, which is a young woman who, as a kid, fought for rights for girls to be in school. So just lots of ways that we're pouring into kids to help them shape their future. And our future. We are excited for round 2 of STEAM education for students. That means that every elementary school will now have another week of STEAM education for kids, and so that's really exciting to continue that project. And STEAM and robotics are continuing to be strong programs at the secondary level. So we're starting all the way at the young kids and moving this up. So it's really exciting to have this progression for kids. March's Reading Month is coming up, and we have some fun themes with books take you out of this world this year. We're excited for that. Valley View has started some mail across the building, so they're doing deliveries for Valentine's and sharing the love. We had some extra opportunities to enrich the lives of students. Odyssey of Mind competitions were held, Girls on the Run teams, Elementary Battle of the Books. I'm not competitive at all, but Rosewood, for the first time since 2004, won this year. And that looks like 8 kids competing at the district level, representing their schools, answering comprehension questions, and it was exciting for our kids. And thanks to our librarians for making that happen for kids. East Rockford and North Rockford Middle School students and parents attended a welcome presentation. So as they make those transitions to that next level, we're thankful that lots of people came out. And then lastly, for growing our students, the high school robotics club qualified for state champions. So we are excited for them to go compete at that level and see what's next for that co-curricular.
So I have the next section, and that is in regards to growing staff. So just a little, here's just a few updates that we have about our staff. First of all, we are nearing the end of the second trimester. The second trimester ends March 3rd, and so staff is preparing not only for the end of the second trimester, but also getting ready for the start of the third. Staff are continuing to work hard through their professional learning communities and addressing questions 1 through 4. That's not only in regards to instruction, but obviously unit planning and assessment as well. Last week, the administrative team also had learning. We did have a winter summit, and it looks like the next report is going to give you a little bit of information that we received from the winter summit. And then each school is in the process of identifying their own plan and action steps based on what we learned about our schools, our students' strengths, and our areas of growth. In K-6, we also held our collaborative action team meetings, and what this is these are meetings that review our progress monitoring data to determine who's going to be going into interventions and then who is exited from interventions. In regards to curriculum, we do have some updates in regards to social studies. The upper elementary teachers are working with vertical alignment in social studies to match our state standards, and then also MSTEP. We're going to continue this process within the secondary setting at the end of this year in the spring. We're starting that process and then continuing to hopefully pilot resources next year with our social studies department. In grades 6 through 12, most of you know that we did adopt new curriculum that's called Envision. And so last week on Friday, our 6th through 12th grade math teachers We're here for instructional training, and they continue to improve their instruction in regards to math strategy and working with our students to be able to make progress in that area. Many schools throughout our district, and you'll be able to see this in the presentation, celebrated their accomplishments both in growth and achievement for our NWA math growth scores. This is a test that is we're compared to other schools throughout the nation, and we are showing levels that are above pre-pandemic achievement in both math and reading in certain areas. And so our teachers and our buildings were able to celebrate that and the hard work of our students since the pandemic. And staff members are continuing to collaborate within their collaborative teams, and they look forward to additional professional development on February 21st. And just once again, thank you so much for that opportunity for our staff to collaborate. And, you know, this year they're collaborating at least once or twice a month at times, and so that's just something that our staff looks forward to, values, and it does make a difference for our students.
So also, Rockford is committed to growing our families. This year we've launched a really strong campaign with the Developing Healthy Kids. So we had our Screen-Wise presentation. We are beginning the enrollment process for our incoming developmental kindergartners and kindergartners. Thank you to Rockford for supporting BK for kids to have the right education at the right time for them. We're in the process of helping families transition from 5th to 6th and from 8th to 9th. It's a big move for families, and knowing how to navigate all of that is really exciting that we have things in place to support kids and families. We are holding Kids Have Rights presentation. This is an advocacy center that comes and supports kids in knowing what's right for their bodies and their best well-being, so they can stand up what's right for them. And also just really excited for One School, One Book. Valley View has been doing this initiative for a while, and Rockwood jumped on board with this year, mimicking what they did with a book called Adventures of the South Pole Pig. What this looks like is every staff member, every student, including bus drivers, gets books. And we are reading the same book together day by day, and we're planning surprise activities for the kids. So we had the author come virtually and share a lot about the story he wrote. We had piglets come to school as a surprise. Staff and students didn't know about this, but this was really educating them about pigs. I learned that pigs are the 4th smartest animal. Humans are number 1, dolphins number 2, ravens number 3, pigs number 4. That was new learning for me. But these piglets did seem smart and really cute. So that was fun, and have families valuing literacy at home. And then we have comprehension questions in the morning, and we have a surprise event after the winter break with some dogs. So we're excited for that opportunity for kids and growing our families with the area of literacy as well. Good. And then also we have a section called Supporting Our Community, and we do believe in partnering with our community and how important the Rockford community is to us and beyond. Crestwood is planning for March's Madness month. They have a food drive, which is also partnering with the Kids Food Basket. That is something that they've done traditionally or annually. Several of our elementaries participate in Jump Rope for Heart, and that is coming up. Several staff have been helping packing lunches and distributing for hand-to-hand. And what hand-to-hand is just during each week, we have students that take home some backpacks that are full of food so that they can have food over the weekend and then throughout the following week. And so that is extremely helpful, even to middle school students as well. Lots of exciting work at the rehearsals for Shrek, and Shrek is our high school musical. These performances will be held on March 10th through the 12th, and then also March 16th through the 19th. Tickets can be purchased at rocktix.org, and those will probably sell out. So just make sure that you get your ticket. It's going to be a wonderful musical. The Women's Empowerment Club is sponsoring a female hygiene product drive that benefits Safe Haven Ministries. And this is throughout the month of February. This is an initiative that our high school is working with. And we are so thankful, the high school is, for the new furniture in the cafeteria.
Mr. Hosford says that it looks amazing and it's very light in comparison to the old cafeteria furniture because they have to move the furniture every single day for practices that are in the cafeteria. So a huge thank you to the community for the bond issues and the different things that you support to be able to make that possible. Hoops for Haiti was another great event, as you heard earlier. They raised over $20,000, which will go to help schools in Haiti this year. And then in conclusion, the Rockford High School Peer Listening Group organized a very successful mental health awareness night at the recent varsity girls and boys basketball game. Huge kudos to our peer listeners, and then also our peer listeners, they do come down and talk to middle school students and elementary students as well too. And so this is just a community service activity that our students are doing and helping our community as well. So with that being said, that is our elementary and secondary report. Does the board have any questions?
I have one. I don't know that you'll have the answer if you just want to take it and bring it back. I'm curious about the number of students that Lisa might have saw for the preschool and the DK information meetings, if we're trending back to where we were before COVID. I'm just curious. Because I know about every 3 years we were adding a section for DK. So I don't know how many people are coming and interested. Just a temperature check.
Okay, we'll get that information to the board. Thanks.
Other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you so much.
Okay, next item, 98B reporting.
Mr. Ram will do a brief 98B reporting this evening. Section 98B of the State School Code requires school districts to establish educational goals to be achieved for the 22-23 school year for each school in the district, and school level goals shall include increased pupil achievement on valid and reliable measured growth, assurance that the district has selected a benchmark assessment, and will correlate to the educational goals that were included in our learning plans under Section 98A for the 2020-21 school year. And this has to be presented to the board by the first board meeting in February. And since this is our first board meeting in February, Mr. Ram will present that report this evening. Mr. Ram.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. So you might remember in the fall I came to you and talked a little bit about 98B and how we were responding to this. So this is legislation that basically just says that every district will adopt a benchmark assessment. Benchmark assessment meaning an assessment that's given 3 times a year to the same group of students, typically in the same classroom, as opposed to our state assessment suite, which is a 1 time a year dipstick. This is meant to measure progress throughout the year and then respond appropriately. This is a practice that was put in place in 2021 so that the nation could better measure, and the state rather could better measure the influence of COVID. It's a practice that Rockford had in place before that time, and so those two things came together nicely. So today, as mentioned, I'm going to give you our dipstick benchmark report for math and ELA, and we administer these assessments in a K-8 grade levels. We set goals as buildings. If you are a parent with a student in the district, you've seen these reports come home with different graphs from previous years. There's something called a RIC score that's attached to every single student, and that is a score that predicts growth. When you take that onto a larger scale, a school building and a district are giving growth predictions, as mentioned in Lisa's report, that align with a national average. Again, not every school in the nation uses this benchmark assessment. Those that do use NWA were compared with, and you'll see some of our rankings, or not rankings, some of our percentiles and our growth proficiencies here today. So overall, what I would say is I'm very pleased and frankly excited about the trend that our district is showing, where we are showing incremental increases in both math and reading, again, through this data set. And so we look at last year, our district achieved at a higher level than we did, at the end of last year, our district achieved at a higher level than we did at this time last year. This time, right now, we are achieving higher than we did in the fall. And so we want to continue with this progress incrementally, and we feel like our strategies and our structures, we're trying to be reflective of them, and we see, I think, some exciting gains. And so, I think we're always very curious about the COVID influence, and this gives us that measure. And as stated in Lisa's report, in most instances, as a trend, we have our students are achieving above pre-pandemic levels. So you hear the national average and those stories about students and that loss of learning that's going to take years and years to rebound from. We're seeing more and more evidence that our students have rebound and are even exceeding. And I think that's the influence of the adults in the system that have the best interest of the students and the best professional preparation to influence those students academically as well as our other programming. So in the winter, we're in the reflection and evaluation phase. We took NWA assessment in September, and in this instance August I should say. We took one in January. We'll take another one in May. As Dr. Matthews said, I'll give you the report in May. Hopefully we see our trend continue. We are going to continuously, at each level, as the building administrative team and at individual buildings and individual classrooms, use this data to think about where our strengths and weaknesses are and how we can make program shifts, what we call instructional agility, so that we notice some data, we then respond to that data with strategies or instructional moves, and so that students can learn more. So we looked at two areas, student achievement and student growth. Student achievement is really how our students achieve compared to previous years, and in this graph, we see percentages comparatively to all students that took the NWA assessment. This is reading K through 8. The purple line is 2023. The yellow and black line are 21 and 22. So our students are achieving generally in that 80 to 90th and a little bit above percentile for students across the nation, right? This is the achievement piece. And so what you also see in this graph is that our students this year, compared to our own students, which would be our three lines, are achieving at a higher rate than they were at this time last year. That's good news, right? So we would expect that students in our system are going to be benefiting from the practices and the expertise, and this is a piece of evidence to suggest that. Is that all students, all grades consistently? No, but our trend is positive, and in this one, this gives us some opportunity to look at other areas and do some inquiry around maybe strategies that we can use, or what are some of the other pieces of the story. When we look at math, again, the winner dipstick on this assessment is the maroon line. As a general trend, you can see when compared to previous years, the maroon line, achievement-wise, is in that 80 to 90th percentile as a general statement, and also above levels that have previous achievement percentiles. So you can see that we have, and again, behind all of these lines, for a different time, I mean, there's a ton of behavior changes and mindset changes and conversations that are easy and exciting and difficult. I mean, we look at data, it's the dry numbers, and I recognize that. I think when you see the conversations and the work that's happening behind us, it can be it's exciting, right? And so as much as we're looking at numbers, I'm pleased to say that the people behind these are all in it, right? And in many different ways. And so it's exciting to see these trends in this way. And so we're going to continue with that and also investigate some other areas and saying, if we have a trend, say, in second grade, historically we've had a dip there. This gives us great opportunity to sit around the table and discuss why and what type of strategies and resources we can move towards that. So then the second way that we are measuring our benchmarking is growth. And so growth says during a year, does a student grow basically for one academic year of growth versus one academic year of time. And we put that as the middle component, and students that take the NWA assessment are compared to students around the country. And what this says is, are students growing during that time as quickly as their peers? So this should be a indication of instruction, right? So the influence that we have could be one factor. So our goal is to have students grow at that 0.0 level, which too much information actually means they're growing above the average of the instructional influence of those students around the nation. Okay, so we want to say our teachers, our systems, growing students faster than those around the nation. That's our expectation. And in most instances that is happening. And in this growth chart, you can see that this is, a little bit less clear when it comes to maybe the variance, but I'll kind of talk you through it here. Again, we are the maroon line right now, 22 and 23. This is reading. 0 is that average amount of growth compared to peers in the nation. So as you can see here, not only are we pushing, or our students growing, for the most part, faster than those in the nation, but also, in this instance, higher than they previously had grown at this time of year. And for whatever reason, one of the trends in our district, if you back out and look at this data, in the winter, our students have just achieved lower growth. And then for some reason, our trend is in the spring. It exceeds it. And so I think that you'll see that's particularly relevant to math, whether it's when we cover specific topics or whatever the case is, but you'll see that that's the case. So again, some positive news there. And then there's math as well, and some again pieces that are encouraging when it comes to levels. And then also some pieces that make us, question a little bit. What is our sequencing like? What are some of the other components that we want to investigate? So I think that's very encouraging news. You'll see math at the maroon line is mostly above the national average as a trend as well too. And also then again, specifically looking at the last 2 years higher. So overall, I would say that our dip-sticking measures are showing great signs of the health of our system. And that's, what we want to continue to be reflective of, and then continue to think about ways in which we can make it even stronger by training and strategies and support and targeting specific needs. So again, I'm very pleased with the work of the adults in our system. Our teachers have done a tremendous job carrying our students through some trying years. And I look at I hope, it's understood that those were very difficult times, and our students were able to be maintained with a level of learning as well as, social emotional support. And we say that, but then when you see it, it just goes to the hard work of those people, which is fantastic. We're going to continue to go. So.
Okay, questions for Mr. Ram about this report? Thank you, Mr. Ram. Express our appreciation to all the staff for their hard work.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, up next we have committee reports. For tonight we had Finance Committee meeting, so
All right, so Finance Committee met. Trustee Helms, Trustee Ramsey, and myself, we connected end of January, 1:30, and along with Cooney and many others, as we just discussed many issues. But yeah, so some of these topics, I won't go into depth on all of them as it came out in our notes here on the 8th of this last week here. But some of those topics included classroom furniture and technology enhancements, which we'll talk more about tonight. Indoor digital signage. So this one is about updating a lot of the technology we have in terms of the the monitors in our schools, but also expanding the locations of those to help increase communication with parents and the community and students. Next, so that's going to be coming to us around March. So keep your eyes up for that one. Website renovations, that is coming at a future date yet to be named. This is a big undertaking, but it's being led by Lisa Jacobs, and she is forming a committee as well to help oversee that process with a third-party vendor there. Baseball and softball, we're going to talk a little bit about the turf tonight, and then the excavation process will come a little bit later, but you'll see some good things that we're proposing there. New bus purchases, that's also on the docket for tonight, as well as the 2019 bond series. So, obviously we'll be making some decisions about some of these things tonight, others down the road. I think, as I was reflecting on some of these issues, I think, some themes jumped out in terms of, access, in terms of expanding access to some of our facilities, hopefully, communication increasing, and just kind of the overall updating and modernization of a lot of our equipment. So it paired very well to the Rams goals as I kind of went back and reviewed those, and particularly to the building and sites. I mean, finances, touches a lot of different things, but as we know, but building and sites in particular, a lot of these things kind of fall into that category for tonight, and so you'll see how that can, reviewing the Rams goals, we kind of see how it hits a number of those issues. So that is my update.
Great. Questions for Jay? Yeah, I appreciate that. We're going to go into a number of those items here next. So, thanks, Jake. New business. Item 1, schools of choice resolutions.
So, schools of choice resolutions are required every year by the Board of Education. There's 3 tonight. One would be to opt out of Section 105. One would be to opt into the Kent ISD Collaborative Schools of Choice program, and one would be to opt into Section 105C. And so, I think we have to take each of those motions individually, right?
We have to take them individually, and they all need to be a roll call vote as well.
So the first we would need a motion and a second to opt out of Section 105.
I move to opt out of Section 105.
Moved by Tricia, support.
I'll support.
Support by Jake. Julie, you'll call her.
Yep, I will. Tricia Anderson? Yes. Jared Folsom?
Yes.
Kelly Frerich? Yes. Barb Helm?
Yes.
Jake Himmelstock?
Yes.
Christy Ramsey? Yes. Nick Reichenbach?
Yes.
And the second would be to opt into the Kent ISD Collaborative Schools of Choice program for the 23-24 school year.
Motion? Jake.
A second.
Support, Christy.
Okay. Tricia Anderson? Yes. Jared Folsom?
Yes.
Kelly Frerich?
Yes.
Barb Helm?
Yes.
Jake Himmelstock?
Yes.
Christy Ramsey? Yes. Nick Reichenbach?
Yes. And then the final is to opt into Section 105C.
Completely, Dr. Matthews, or only for siblings?
Only for siblings.
A motion?
I move.
Nick. Christy, support.
Okay. Tricia Anderson? Yes. Jared Folsom?
Yes.
Kelly Frerich?
Yes.
Barb Helm?
Yes.
Jake Himmelstock?
Yes.
Christy Ramsey? Yes. Nick Reichenbach?
Yes.
Thank you. And as you know, opting into the Kent ISD Collaborative brings some students to our district, and that's coordinated through Ms. Nestor in my office.
Great. Okay. New business item 2, furniture purchases.
And this evening, we will have a kind of a presentation that will give you some perspective on our furniture project. This is from the 2019 bond. And I think Mr. Ram and Ms. Wilson-Crawford will give you that perspective. And then Mr. Cuneo will help us understand what the cost of this will be. And again, this was presented in the 2019 bond, which the district supported, and this is rolling this out kind of over the next 3-year period. So Mr. Ram, Ms. Wilson-Crawford.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. We are really excited to talk with you about the transformational change that we are implementing in our school district as a result of the bond. And so we started engaging in this work around our classroom environment and what that looks like from a physical perspective, furniture, and fixtures just as soon as that bond was passed. And we began thinking around how Rockford could transform our learning spaces into 21st century learning spaces where kids can work on collaborative skills under the guidance of a skilled teacher, and they can engage with the instructional material in a way that is really meaningful for kids and provides unique experiences to them. And that was the premise for how we began this work together, knowing that classrooms should look different now than they did in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, and wanting to get there together with our staff and our community such that our kids can have a really great relevant experience and they can take that with them DK all the way through 12th grade and into the workforce or into college, wherever they choose to go. So we're excited to share our progress with you on that, and then we do have a hopeful ask around spending of our bond dollars to begin this project. Mr. Ram, let's see, it's me. So we passed that bond in 2019, and we began working on a classroom environment and equipment task force at Rockford School. We had about 60 to 70 people involved in that task force, and we asked them questions, and we looked at research together, and we had people come in and speak. And we talked about all of the different facets that are there when you plan for a classroom and what that can look like for our students across all of our ages and grade levels. We also had consultation with GMB and their architects, and I think Tom Vandergren is here, and he was part of those meetings with us as well, to consult on what we want for our students and what we want for those classrooms. And based upon those things, we entered into some pilots with our teachers, and we've been rotating some unique sets of furniture across our district since about this time last year, getting teacher and student feedback. And then we're looking forward to 23 to 25 when we're now selecting this furniture like you're going to see today. We're going to engage in professional learning around this, and then we're going to implement these new furnishings and fixtures into our classroom learning environment.
When you walk around our district, what you would notice over the course of the last 4 or 5 years is teachers taking the furniture that they had and rearranging it into different, arrangements for sometimes teacher style. The REF has been great in supporting our teachers with some early requests for different pieces of furniture. Teachers are really thrifty shoppers in a lot of ways and have been really thinking about how they are outfitting their own classroom on their own dime because they know the benefit of offering furniture that really assists with their instructional delivery. And so that's that combination that Corey is talking about. Like when we think around the environment of the classroom, how do all of the pieces work together to benefit the learners and the instructor's ability to meet not only the academic needs, but you'll see sometimes the physical needs of students, and then also interaction-wise, how can we promote some other life skills embedded just by the physical arrangement of the room. So we know that movement is something you'll see in some of these pictures. I want you to think about that. Movement during, while a student is in class is going to stimulate some academic ability and brain space, right? So some of these pieces of furniture have some moving pieces to them, but more importantly, you'll see the variety of furniture settings there. Teachers are delivering instruction in multiple and varied ways during a single lesson. And so that it looks less than a teacher standing and delivering by, speaking from bell to bell. See you later, students, we'll see you tomorrow. But rather it looks like students interacting with each other, teachers facilitating different learning activities, and the furniture is intended to assist with some of those pieces. So, what do we buy? And how do we know what we need? So we've talked about, and we've put in place a pilot schedule that includes 10 pilot classrooms with vendors and also the guidance of GMB. You see that we have 2 K2 pilots that began last spring. Last March they were put in place. 2, 3, 4, or 5 upper elementary pilots. 3 middle school, and then 3 high school pilots. All different needs, all different age children, all of us, and in all instances giving us different information for purchasing. So we're very much focused right now on the elementary, as Corey mentioned, you saw the timeline with Belmont and Meadow Ridge, but these pilots are also ongoing in the district, and we are gathering pre- and post-survey from students and teachers. Also, we are having dialogues with teachers about their experience and specifically trying to push a little bit more on specific pieces of furniture and what the needs are. Meanwhile, we're also looking at the teacher station piece. So what is the experience of the adult in the room, and how can that move with that classroom furniture piece as well? So, for example, we have a belief that if we ask students to have flexible type of seating, which means it can be used in a lot of different ways, and we give the expectation for the teacher to say, well, here's a fixed station, it doesn't necessarily match with the design of the room. So we want to give teachers the ability to be a little bit more mobile, be a little bit more flexible themselves, and really supply them with equipment that might have remote access with some of the district instructional technology, but also the physical features that might have a smaller footprint, might be a little bit more mobile, and maybe offering some different characteristics to them. So all of those things we're looking at, and we're having some great findings along the way. Our goal out of this is not to send a survey out to the entire district and say, what would you individually like? That would not be good. We would not make people happy. Our goal is to help people and make them happy. Rather, we're building a template for every single classroom. And so that template would include some specific pieces, and we'll have rationale behind those pieces. Corey will share with you a little bit about what those are, and I'll show you some in a few minutes. And then there will be some choice factor that we have built in for that teacher and the teacher station area. So we have 3 different options. We're giving the teacher the opportunity for the right type of chair that this person likes, the right type of desk, and the right type of storage piece. So we really want to have their input on that particular component. Great. When you look at what does the furniture look like, does you think this is the first time thinking, well, it's furniture, right? You sit in the desk, it's kind of connected. You put your books in the wire basket underneath. That's cool, right? This is not that. And so we're hoping for a little bit something different. So this is an elementary sample pilot. We're not choosing all of these pieces. With that said, we are trying to think about groups of furniture for different populations, again, depend on those criteria, and adding this variety into each classroom. And so you'll see some of those pieces here. Then you notice as kind of the overview that the classroom's not rows of desks with a teacher in the corner. So this classroom doesn't really have a front of the room. Now you see the teacher station in that, right? But you see how the teacher could be easily moving in and out of these groups. Also, these pieces of furniture, if you gave them to, say, 5 teachers and said, all right, set your room up, it would look very different in all 5 instances. They can be used in a lot of different ways. And that's what, if you noted, Corey talked about that professional learning timeline. That's what that reference to, because, if you think, well, what's professional learning about furniture? Again, it's blending that instruction and the physical design. The secondary group might have a little bit less soft seating in it, but it's still going to have a variety of different pieces. We're seeing trends like students or teachers wanting maybe some very tops to heights to the desks. Some might be, a sample set might have 4 standing desks, right? And maybe a bistro style table, as well as, some individual order seating. So that varied pieces or pieces that work together, tables specifically. Can you take the SAT exam in this? Yes. Can you work in interactive groups with this furniture set? Yes. And then some other pieces. So all of those are going in place. It's very exciting, and you can see when you think about the classrooms that we all learned in, this really doesn't look like it. So when we ask students, what do you think about the furniture? They immediately always give positive feedback, and I believe that, when you look at our survey, it's very clear that the engagement initially, right away, right, is that they are feeling like it's a bit of a privilege, right, and it's an inviting place. So we're trying to meet their needs in that respect, and it's been very encouraging to us. Sometimes teachers don't want the pilot to go away. So we've learned a lot through the process.
Before we move on, I just want to go back to this elementary sample pilot for a quick minute. If you look at the top, you're going to see a table called the thumbprint table. That table you're going to see later on in the quote. Right? And so when you're thinking about what exact furniture are these people going to be recommending for this district. That piece, and then you can see it, it's kind of a trapezoid-like shape. That is one of the desks that you'll see. You'll also see next to that is a cantilever chair, and it's to the left of that thumbprint table. And see how the chair has a different kind of leg base than what maybe you are accustomed to seeing. That leg base allows for some slight movement. It also allows for a student to stack the chairs a different way and also cantilever the chairs on the desk to create more space. Also for maintenance and cleaning, that is really important. So two of those are very similar to items that you're going to see in the recommendation. So just wanted to point that out. So what are we doing? Now that we have these pilots and they're rotating through and we're trying some things out that our staff are really liking and that our students are really finding beneficial, and we're also trying out some things that we found out like maybe less so. And that's the beauty of a true pilot, right? Put all of these things with educational professionals and students and ask them what works. What works for your subject area? And you'll see these are actually Rockford classrooms here. So these are two examples of what's currently being in our pilots and in our building. So we have the district steering committee, and our steering committee meets right now. We're meeting weekly to kind of get this project through. But we've also engaged in pre and post surveys with the teachers and all of the kids who've been experiencing this furniture as a pilot. We've been doing classroom observations, and we've been looking to see how having this type of furniture might be able to change the way we reach students and how we teach students. And so we've been doing those observations with other professionals, and many peers have come through and watched their co-teachers or their colleagues kind of teach in that space and look at some of the things that are going on. And then we're engaging in pilot teacher dialogues as well. So those are really like feedback sessions where we invite all of the pilot teachers together and we say, tell us what's good, what's bad, what's working for you, what's difficult, what should we change, is the ratio right? And we're getting all of that feedback and we're collecting that data, and so the recommendations that you'll see today are based upon all of that feedback together through the district steering committee. So what does our timeline look like? Like Mr. Ram said, we're starting with an elementary first, and so we're going to start with Belmont and Meadow Ridge, and so you're going to see some purchases, and pending approval, those purchases will be delivered in the fall of 2023 to Belmont and Meadow Ridge. So those are the first two buildings that are going to receive this new furniture. Of course, this is an iterative process, so what that means is we're going to keep learning as we go. And so you may see something a little bit different for Cannonsburg and Lakes. You might see something that isn't different if we really hit it out of the park, right? We don't know yet. And then you'll see we will begin adding and continuing to build upon that schedule until the fall of 25, when all of our district will be outfitted with fixtures and furnishings that match what we want for our students from a learning perspective, from a physical perspective, and what will help our teachers be able to deliver that high quality instruction that we are accustomed to. So, board members, we do have a little recommendation that we'll take, I think, when Dr. Matthews is ready, but we wanted to open up for questions and dialogue that you might have around the process that we've taken, or just any general questions you might have around fixtures and furnishing that we might be able to help with.
I'm curious about the templates. How varied are they, or how many are they by every grade level or subject, or what's the rubric around the templates to meet the needs? How unique or how standard are those?
It's a great question because, DK classroom or K classroom is much different than, say, a fourth grade classroom. Yeah. So we're looking at three different levels for the elementary depending on their developmental piece. We are going to have to make some decisions around departments at the secondary, and we're finding that out now. We have not made any decisions around that, but we're piloting in different types of classrooms. Right now we have a pilot in the CI classroom. We have a pilot in the science lab. We have a pilot in a math classroom. So those, I think, are going to have to be considered as well as the secondary. But really, our decision making at the elementary has been around DK, K1, 2, 3, and then 4.5.
Okay.
With some like modifications. For example, there are early childhood special education classrooms. There'll be a modification of our DK. And I think the second part of your question was maybe around like, what does that variable look like? So it does look like different kinds of seating, but one of the pieces of feedback that we received from our staff was some of our pilots have 6 or 7 different kinds of chairs in them, and that seemed overwhelming to staff and students. Right? So too much variety. So some variety seems like it's a positive, but not quite that much variety, because it shouldn't become more of a management tool than it really just needs to be an educational tool, right? So we're looking for some varied seating options that might be in the 3 to 4, not in the 6 to 7. So you'll kind of see that.
I have a question about the end of life for our existing furniture. Obviously, that's a big environmental footprint. Is it going on to live another life somewhere?
We believe it is.
It will go on to live another life somewhere. Yep, so there will be a schedule for that. Some of the furniture will be recycled, right? Some of our furniture has been welded over and over and over again and just is really at the end of usable life. So some of it will be recycled. Some of it may be auctioned, although that really, when we talk to Sean Hayward, our Director of Operations, doesn't seem like it's a very lucrative or like efficient way to do that. And then there are a lot of organizations where people who might not have the kind of resources can use those furnishings in a way that really supports people who may be disadvantaged in other parts of the world or in other parts of this country. And so then we would engage, with some of those organizations, and anything usable, we would be able to move on. Now there will be pieces of furniture that at Rockford schools that we keep, right? Like it's not an estate sale. Right? Like we're not getting rid of everything. But a lot of the classroom furniture that we have is close to the end of its usable life. Like the bond and the planning for this bond was purposeful. And we knew that much of our furniture was close to the end of its usable life. So we'll keep some. We'll figure out a way to get some in the hands of people that we can, and we will send some on to maybe another world that is not for furniture, because it's really rough. So, but that's a big undertaking, right? It's a big undertaking. Sean Hayward will help us with that, so we're looking forward to that.
So 2 questions. One on the overall financials. I think we were at, $17-18 million during the bond for furniture, including cafeteria stuff? Yeah. We're still tracking on that? And then vendor, are we locked in one vendor? How many vendors are represented here?
We will not be locked into one vendor. You're going to see some tables and chairs from one vendor listed on the list in your board packet. We anticipate that some of the soft seating options and some of the other table options will come from varied vendors. So, and that's why we piloted from multiple vendors. We want to take the best that we can afford from each of the vendors that meets our needs. So I think by the time we're done, you'll see 3 to 4 different vendors that are represented in our overall schema.
Thank you.
Just a quick comment. I just wanted to let you guys know how much I appreciate all of the work that has gone into this, because I have a second grader who is not meant to sit in a specific type of chair all day long. And I think there's a lot of kids in our district who are like him and who are really going to benefit from some of the varied seating styles and ways that the classroom is set up. And I'm just so thankful for this.
And that, I think that's one thing that's been eye-opening for us as we've gone on this journey, to think about the impact, cognitively, how that physical seat can have with students. And our job is to provide that environment with the best possible chance for readiness and learning. And it's really been, I think, a lot of learning for us, going through this process, which we knew. And it's going to be the same way for our staff. So thank you for that feedback. I think that, again, the dovetailing of the environment with really all of the tools and giving teachers those, I think our students are going to have the best possible chance to learn. So yeah, thank you.
Any other questions?
So tonight we come to the board with a recommendation.
Yeah. So to Nick's point, in this case we do have one vendor for the first series of furniture that we're buying. This is a quote from VS Furniture. That was the furniture that was chosen for this initial implementation. and it's for the schools of Belmont and Meadow Ridge, okay? And so the way that I would equate this to is sometimes, we need, when you look at a particular function of, let's say, computer equipment, an iPad versus a Chromebook, okay? In this case, it's like some of them are a single source provider, as is what we're quoting tonight, similar to like an iPad. An iPad is what we want for this particular element to work, similar to what the pilots have proven out is the VS furniture for these types of different elements is what is being recommended by the teachers along the line. Along with the idea that as we progress through the K-12 system, there will be other vendors that are involved. But there's not an active, I point that out because there's not an active competitive bid in this case because it's a single source provider, which the Board of Education has the right to choose with that, okay? So the recommendation is to order the different elements that you see here. There's probably about 25 different variations of tables and chairs that are here through BS Furniture for Belmont and Meadow Ridge. For Belmont, the total is $304,084.80. For Meadow Ridge, $376,636.80. For a total, this would be to come out of the 2019 bond issue of $680,721.60. And for implementation this fall. And that is the recommendation.
So that's the recommendation from the Furniture Committee and through Mr. Cunio's office. And so we would ask the board to approve that this evening.
Is there a motion?
I move.
Moved by Kelly, support by Christie. Any discussion? No? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. This is an exciting project, and I'd like to express my appreciation to Mr. Ram, Ms. Wilson Crawford. They spent a lot of time on this. My office is right next to the room where they have many of these conversations, and I hear a lot of those conversations going on when I'm in the office, and I'm thankful for their systematic approach to this and the work that our teachers have done and their willingness to pilot a lot of this furniture and to really get us the best possible option for our students.
All right, next item, new business 3, bond issue series 2.
Okay. Thank you, Board of Education, Central Office, and this is exciting. Essentially, in May of 2019, the public voted in favor of issuing up to $174 million worth of bonds. As part of that whole 10-year build-out, is we were looking at various series to be issued over a 10-year period. We have now finished almost finished the first series, which I'll highlight some of the different projects. But ultimately now we're into the point of where we are starting the development plans for the second series of bonds and build out. And so the board tonight will be taking action on whether to approve the resolution of action to move forward with the second series of bonds. But just a little bit of procedural to show you a little bit. One of the things that the boards of education, also central office, has to do, we have to sign off on the purchase of these bonds. And just so you know, a bond itself is one of the few avenues that a school district or any governmental entity has to do can utilize to raise monies. Okay, we can't just go out for a loan. Ultimately, we have to look at for larger purchases of capital purchases, the issuance of these bonds that are paid then over a series of years. So we have we basically are responsible for signing off on things, but we're not licensed to do anything. Okay, so one of the things I want to show you here in terms of this particular slide here is we're going to be issuing approximately $81 million worth of bonds. 1% of that cost will go towards issuance costs. Now, that's a small percentage, but they're larger dollar amounts. Essentially what we have is we have costs for the underwriters who actually take the bonds to market. We have costs for a financial consultant that helps organize the types of series that we're having with the bonds, and we also have a bond counsel that makes sure that we're doing things according to HOIL. Part of the resolution, which I'll get into in a bit, will be approving those particular areas as well. So this gives you a breakout of what the underwriter's cost would be, and also the cost of issuance. And you can see the line to the right that the cost of issuance then is made up of the various elements that go into issuing the bond. Okay, attorney fees. We also have credit ratings. You have security filings.
all kinds of different things. This is in your board packet that we have to abide by, okay? And this is consistent with what we've done in the past as well. Then the timeline. There's two, in your board packet, there's two different timelines that we're looking at, and I'll show you a quick snapshot of that in a second. The reason why we're looking, normally it's pretty straightforward in terms of the timeline that we're looking at. The big thing is we want to issue these bonds before 6/30 of this year, before the end of our fiscal year, because we will need those monies to pay for some of these projects that will be starting this summer. The other thing is we're looking for a little bit of latitude in terms of the timing, because interest rates have been jumping all over the place, okay? So basically what you see here is option A goes through the different elements, and then we're looking at a closing time of May 18th of 2023, or maybe a little bit later of June 14th of 2023. In the past, we've been closer to that June deadline, okay? But it's ultimately, as time goes on, once the board approves tonight, hopefully the authorizing resolution, that'll then start the mechanism for us to look at what the market is and putting that information, and then they will help us, these groups will help us, the Board of Education provide for the, somewhat the best avenue to move forward with. This colored graph shows you some of the different rate increases and decreases that have happened over the past year or so. So you can see a lot of red, which is all large rate increases, and then green where there's large rate decreases. So part of the reason for, again, those different sort of those timelines, the different timelines, is to make sure that they provide us the most optimal time that we can issue these particular bonds. Okay. And as soon as I can spin this around, I just want to show you briefly. This works. One more time. Okay, so series 1, 2, and 3. I'm not going to go through each one of these projects, but essentially what we did was when we structured the bond, there's basically two major things that we did. One is build capacity at the elementary, or allowed for capacity to be built at the elementary level, middle school level, and at the high school level, or 9-12 level, okay? Each one of these series are positioned to do that, okay? So in this first series that was issued in May of 2019, $55 million, you can see the top two areas. The top area there is the new elementary. That will go into existence, or operation, I should say, in fall of 2024. You should see that's almost half of that particular first series. Also, we have the high school stadium upgrades, and we have various other things that were put into place also along the lines of baseball, softball, parking lot improvements, those types of things. The $81 million that we are looking at, once I get this up to speed here, the major issue, couple major items. The board has already taken action on these two. North Rockford Middle School, which is just over $18 million. You have the transportation building for just over $8 million. The Crestwood addition, currently in place, which is just over $7 million. And then what we're going to bring tonight is also the baseball, softball field, the turf issue as well. And then Rockwood Gym addition. Those are the major items that will be part of the $81 million. And then in 3 to 4 years, we'll be coming back to the board again for the third series. The addition of the 55 to 81 to 38 is 174, and essentially this brings it to the expansion at the 9-12 level, and you can see the Freshman Center High School, where we're looking between those two about $20 million worth of expansion of capacity at those particular buildings. Okay, so one thing I will tell you as we go through these different projects and stuff like that, there is latitude for the board to move different projects to different areas. So like for instance, we know that we have technology, we've allocated $15 worth of technology in the bond.
$15.
What's that? What is $15 million? $15 million worth of technology purchased throughout the bond over a 10-year period. At the time that we planned that, I can't tell you that it's going to be this type of computer, that type of monitor, because all those things change over time. But the language in the ballot allows, again, the latitude of making that decision closer to the time that we make that purchase. Same with the type of building that we're going to be building. Okay, so in instance, we currently have allocated $12 million at the Freshman Center, $8 million at the 10-12 building. There is latitude for the board to move that depending on where the population is or where we ultimately shape the curriculum to say, hey, are we going to look at those buildings differently at that period of time? So I just want to point that out to the board, okay? So the resolution that we have before you, after all that, going back to the 81 million, basically does a couple of things. First of all, the resolution itself comes with exhibits. The exhibits will be filled appropriately once we actually issue the bonds. There'll be a closing document that the board will then have to act on before you're able to receive the money. It's no different than when you basically take out a loan. You got to go through the closing. Ultimately, the board has to sign off on that. The authorizing resolution does essentially a couple things. What it does is it names the underwriter, bond counsel, and the financial consultants. The underwriter would be Stifel, Nicholas and Company. The bond counsel would be True Law Firm, and the financial consultants would be PFN Financial Advisors. Then it also allows for the delegation. The board has the right to sign off, but also allows for the delegation of signing off on the closing at the time of market to either the superintendent or the assistant superintendent of finance. That is consistent with what we've done in the past as well. Okay? So, like I said, the exhibits in the back, we will be updating. There are some old information in there. Again, it's just an exhibit to show what it looks like. So we'll have to update some of the different, like the board officers and all that stuff. But ultimately, this will allow us to move forward with issuing the 81 million. Starts the process.
So this is a resolution authorizing the issuance and delegating the sale of bonds, and this has to be a roll call vote.
Correct.
Correct. And so we need a motion and a second, and then a roll call vote by Ms. Smith.
I'll move.
Support.
Is that Tricia? Sorry. Tricia, support.
All right. Tricia Anderson? Yes. Jared Folsom?
Yes.
Kelly Burridge? Yes. Barb Helm? Yes. Jake Himmelstock?
Yes.
Christy Ramsey? Yes. Nick Reichenbach?
Yes.
Okay. Item 4 under new business is bus purchase.
Hey, Jared, we didn't get a chance to ask questions, but I will say be prepared to refinance in a few years, because I think we've done that like you would with your home mortgage. We've done that probably 4 times since I've been on the board, but as interest rates go back down. So we've been really, really diligent about that. The last one wasn't as big as the one before, but I think the last 2 in total is like $5 million we've been able to save by refinancing. Second, the tables that you see up here, just my recommendation is print a couple of those out and keep them with you, because unless you're traveling around with the board, the bond package, this is really, really clear, and this is an incredible amount of work to go through just to put these tables together out of that book. This will lighten the load in my car by 2 pounds. So thank you very much, because especially what's in progress, what isn't, you might go into a building and you might not know, and you just pull it up as the teacher asked you. But all of these we've been talking about for a really, really long time, and it's kind of exciting to see it so concise, in progress, waiting. It really is. So thank you for all the work on that. That's a ton of work. Thank you, Jerry.
Buses. Okay, I'll just stand up here since I got the whole line share, the last part of the agenda. But anyway, so bus purchases is part of the 2019 bond. We have put in there replacing the entire fleet over that bus fleet over that 10-year period. We have approximately 70 buses. We're ordering essentially 7 per year. Okay. What we did is in the information you have a summary and then the detail behind it. So we have a mechanism that we can utilize that basically we can line up the major players. And what I mean by that is in the state of Michigan, Thomas Built Buses, Bluebird, and International are the major players in the state of Michigan in terms of buses. What we have done is over time we have actually utilized the Thomas bus almost exclusively, because their bids are usually in line with the others. Also, we have inventory that lines up with those particular buses as well. Okay, so that makes it more efficient, more cost effective in terms of maintaining these buses, efficiencies of what the mechanics have to order, those types of things that allow for essentially cost savings over a period of time. So you can see the information there. What we have is that the ask is for 6 71-passenger buses. Now, we'll tell you, 71 passengers can fit on these buses. We don't route them for 71 passengers. It's closer to 50. Because the reality of it is even in terms of what they say, you can fit 3 people per seat. We don't try to do that, okay? We try to get it down to a number that is more manageable so that we have 2 per seat. And then we also have a 47-passenger bus, which mainly fits 30 comfortably, okay? Those would be used for some of our shorter runs and our special need runs that we have. And that's one for that. So we are looking at approval tonight of, again, 6 71-passenger bus through Thomas, through Hookstra, who makes the Thomas bus, and then also one 47-passenger bus, also through Hookstra, for a total of $854,876. When you combine the two, is the low bid for that mix of buses, and that will come out of the 2019 budget. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Cuneo. Our buses travel an average of 4,000 miles a day from Rockford to LA and back every single day. And so they get used a lot. And so this will help us as we continue to create safe conditions for our students riding our buses. So we would ask for approval of the recommendation that Mr. Cuneo gave this evening.
I move.
Kristen moves. I'll support. Jake, support. Any other questions or discussion? No? Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Baseball, softball, sir.
Okay, so this was brought up in 2 different committees at many months apart from each other. But essentially what has happened is as we expand our co-curricular selections and what have you, there has been more and more of a need for another turf field at the high school level. One of the things is the bond allows for is improvements of the baseball, softball fields. And as we looked into this, we thought, hey, maybe we can do something that would accomplish the need of providing improvements to baseball, softball, but then also allow for other activities to potentially use this. Okay? So as we went through, I'm going to kind of go back and forth on this. As we went through and looked at what it would look like if we used a baseball, softball field for multiple use. And here's the thing. The idea would be the primary use would be varsity baseball and softball, but then we would utilize, you can see there, the outfield of that baseball for other elements. This shows you a picture of a football field and how that would fit on there. Also a picture of this is boys lacrosse that is out there, and then we have girls lacrosse. And you can see, or even if we just put and this is soccer as well, the idea is we could utilize these particular fields from a practice perspective when they're not being used from a varsity perspective. One of the biggest problems we also have, especially with baseball, softball, is in the fall, is the usability of the fields currently. Whenever it rains, you can't play on them, those types of things, and it becomes problematic in terms of rescheduling and what have you. Also, I will tell you that these baseball, softball fields run on average between $80,000 to $100,000 in terms of annual expenditures to maintain those. Okay, those are operational dollars that come out that essentially take away from the classroom that we can provide back into the classroom itself. Okay, so again, they would primarily be utilized for baseball, softball, but then we would also be utilizing these as different practice facilities for different elements. And what we wouldn't necessarily permanently line these particular fields for that, but we would look at temporary lineage, or even just setting up different areas for people to practice that isn't so intrusive on these fields itself. Now, through a committee that we had put together, we went through the different looks of, and if I can find the exact,
I think you're going the other way.
I was going the wrong way here. Here we go. Through different renditions, the committee ended up on this design. So on the left is the baseball field, on the right is the softball field. You can see that there would be the big Rammer logo in center field with the design of where, similar to how we have at the Carlson Munger Stadium, the different look, they call it the watermelon look, where you have the darker and the lighter green split by every 10 yards. You have that same sort of concept from a mowing that looks like it's been mowed, okay, that you see in professional, even with what we have now when they mow the grass, but even in professional baseball and even the college ranks. The idea would be that everything that you see here would be turfed. The differentiation of the infield to the outfield and the warning track is by the color of the turf itself. Okay? And then you can see the logo behind the Rockford Rams behind home base there. And we also would configure the baseball field itself. We're looking at different options that we could even adapt that to Little League baseball for tournaments and stuff. The softball field is currently, which I didn't know until I went through this process, is configured. Little League baseball can use it as well. So there's different opportunities, even at a younger level, that we can utilize with this. The final thing that we looked at too, which is going to be part of the recommendation, is the turf fields that we have at Carlson Munger Stadium, and then also up above, which we call HAR, that utilizes an infield that is essentially ground up plastic bottles that are painted green. Okay? Now, those fields we utilize a different manufacturer that we are not going to be recommending here because we are looking more for someone who has a better understanding of baseball, softball, and that's what they deal with. Okay? The previous vendor that we had did not have the expertise that we felt would be with what we're going to be recommending today. One of the things that we keeping consistent with the feel of recyclable material is we are looking at an infill that is different than just the regular rubberized fill that you would see in other fields. And that is utilizing, in this case, what's called coconut, which is cork, and then coconut fiber. Okay? Now, the first question I ask is there allergies that are associated with this stuff? And because we do have students that have nut allergies. First of all, my understanding is the coconut is fruit, not a nut. The other thing is we use the fiber, and so you really have to ingest it for it to be problematic. Okay? So what we would be doing is you have the base bin that has the rubberized material. There's then an upcharge for that recyclable material, or whatever you say, the recyclable material, more environmentally friendly material. But ultimately, that stays consistent with what we've done with the other fields themselves. Okay? So, a lot of different information here, but before I go into the bid side of it, are there any questions? Well, I have my posse over here, Jeremy Amshay from OAK and Tom Vandergren from GMD, who are architects. Yes?
I have two questions, and please forgive me because I don't play baseball or softball, but I have some family members who do. My understanding with these turfs is that there can be challenges around what happens with water and ice in a false turf situation compared to real grass. And then the other question is on the other end of the spectrum, when it's really, really, really hot, when we're looking at 95 to 105 degrees, that the black section can also get really, really hot, like hotter than the green section.
Yeah, there's two ways both those pieces. The temperature one, this infill is actually cools the field more than traditional rubber infill. That stuff absorbs a lot of temperature, and there's concerns about how hot they get. Your field that you have at your football field, also that's one of the products called EcoFill. It reduces the temperatures because it's a different kind of infill, it's not the black rubber. This coconut husk and cork actually does even a better job of temperature reducing. So the color black that you're seeing, I don't know if it will actually end up being black, but that is only on the warning track. So there's not, the actual playing field is not that it will be increased by that temperature color. But the infill actually is cooler, replicates anything that's natural grass. The ice component, water doesn't drain better than anything natural. These are designed to drain water off at a flood rate. And that's why people really are looking more and more to do this for baseball and softball. They're the last seasons in our nets, and the fields don't play well. So they drain much better than anything you do natural with grass as you have now. As it relates to ice, snow, that's kind of issue, right? I mean, when it's icy snow, you probably shouldn't be on it. There's not much you can do about that.
Thank you.
I would also add that the NHSAA for any of our, they have rules on temperatures and even practice, so that's for our athletic directors out there with the stick. But this is, I've been lobbied for years for another one. And, the other option was, over by Rockford where the rugby team plays. And I'm really happy about this. But I'm going to say turf wars on purpose. But will the band be allowed to use this as well? Just want to make sure.
Yeah, that was part of the discussion.
Okay, great. Because, the spring is bad for them too. Fall is bad for them too. So this is awesome.
Yeah.
There's just more places where people can go. And with all of the, I think we've added 4 sports since I've been here. Obviously all men and women. So this is a big deal. It's almost like you put those slides in there for somebody that might ask about the other sports. So thank you for that.
But one of the things that when as we spoke as a committee was to making sure that it wasn't just for the varsity, for baseball and softball. We were looking at different ways that we could utilize those things, and that's where the question came up: what else could we do? Okay, and so we're happy to be able to provide this sort of opportunity. Again, it's not for varsity for some of those other elements, but it'll allow for practice to happen.
I have a quick question, and maybe this is for our GMB folks. So you mentioned that there's not any kind of infiltration through the turf when it comes to stormwater?
There is.
Oh, there is?
There is, yeah. It absorbs water immensely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought I heard you say that it sheet flows like a flood, but you meant it infiltrates.
Yeah, there's a drainage system underneath. It's not like a football field.
Great, okay. Thanks.
The turf is a very heavily engineered system. And you have a premier system on your football fields that is, like Cody was saying, is out of the football and soccer arena, and so they're dealing with one surface for running and twisting and turning and falling and stuff. This is a couple different manufacturers that we ended up preferring with your team are designed for baseball. So they're unique. There are 4 different types of engineered turfs on that field. The infield is one part of the system. The dirt, skin, stone dust is a different system. The outfield is more like a football or running grass surface. And the warning track is another surface so that it sounds like a warning track. So there are 4 different kinds of turf in this system that are all engineered. It's not just color. It's not just a change of color. They're a different engineered type of turf. Whereas some of the others are just changing the color, where it doesn't play like baseball. So this stuff plays just like a real field, a dirt field. The coconut cork blend is actually very much like dirt in terms of its traction and pull, but you still have all the resiliency of the pads underneath for the fall protection and stuff. So fantastic system designed for baseball softball.
The bid, Mr. Cooney?
Yes, so the bid was actually with the alternate of the coconut or the coconut fill, as we talked about, would be for S&H Trucking and Excavating. They are the low bid. They are also, I would say, at least reputation-wise, is the one probably most familiar with baseball and softball fields themselves. Total amount would be for $2,826,917. And again, that would come out of the 2019.
That's for both fields.
That's for both fields, yes.
So we would ask the board to approve that.
Is there a motion?
I move.
Kelly moves. Support. I saw Nick first. Any other discussion or questions? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Thank you. And lastly, North Rockford Masonry.
Now, if the board recalls, North Rockford Middle School, the one bid that we had pulled out from the expansion and remodeling of North Rockford Middle School is a masonry bid. I'll have Jeremy speak to this a little bit, but after looking, go ahead, Jeremy. Why don't I just have you do it? I'll summarize the bit.
As far as the curriculum, we're going to start in August too, so it's after the season and before between seasons there too. So, but North Middle, you recall we recommended the other 28 categories last time. These two, Brigade Masonry and JK, were within $2,000 of each other. So we want to make sure we did our due diligence on the manpower. We go out to the manpower log. Make sure they had enough people dedicated to this project. So after going through it all for the last month, we feel confident in a little bit. So we're recommending a little bit tonight.
So the recommendation would be for Brigade Masonry for the amount, including contingencies and fees, of $1,192,608. Again, 2019.
Okay, thanks. Motion?
I'll move.
Jake?
I'll second.
Support by Christie. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Up next is our recognition of visitors and hearing of people present. We had 4 people registered to speak tonight. We have our timer ready. Over to that. Okay, up first is Charles Curtis. Charles here. Right here.
Good evening, thank you. I have 3 grandchildren in the Rockford schools, and over the last couple of years I've been increasingly concerned that many schools have lost their way by allowing and even promoting the hypersexualization of children and the endorsement of woke ideologies at the expense of academic excellence and often behind parents' backs. And I feel compelled to talk and just kind of make sure that that's not going on here in Rockford. I challenge you as a board to create a transparent environment so that families can have complete confidence that there are no hidden agendas and that we can completely trust you with our children. I understand that some people may imagine they are a furry or a cat or identify as a drag queen, but I certainly don't want them to be teaching or influencing our children that this is normal, because it's not. I understand that there is a gender choice cult flourishing in our society, but I don't want a school system that coddles and encourages children to identify as anything other than how God created them, either male or female. If someone believes they were born in the wrong body, and they do, that is an emotional issue, not a physical reality. Chromosomes certainly don't lie. To encourage children to doubt their God-given heritage is very damaging and dangerous. Delusional, non-binary thinking leads many children into catastrophic and often irreversible medical interventions, from drug therapies to chemical castration to sex change operations. And it is unthinkable that a school system would accommodate and even promote this gender confusion under the guise of a proper education. I want to be assured that this is not happening here in Rockford. When pornographic books promoting gay sex like This Book is Gay or Gender Queer can be found in Rockford school libraries, it causes me to wonder if RPS can be trusted. When an obviously transgender 8th grade substitute teacher is hired who imposes her pronouns on students, it causes me to wonder if the system can be trusted. When you guys rush through a hiring of a whole department of 6 mental health experts without so much as a discussion, it looks like a backdoor for establishing confidential private communications between these experts and our children. Parents be damned. I hope I'm wrong, but it doesn't promote my trust. I challenge this board to demonstrate a sincere, obvious, and public commitment to transparency, understanding that parents should never be circumvented in any issue regarding their child. A good start would be to establish a book review committee to proactively remove all pornographic and gender-confusing materials that are likely illegal from every Rockford school library. Prove your transparency by your actions. Public education is at a serious crossroads. Does it exist to usher in woke change, or does it exist for parents who want an education of excellence without undermining their values? All right.
Up next is Andrea Jacobson.
Good evening. I just wanted to take a brief moment this weekend. We hosted the Region 2 Odyssey the Mind tournament at North Rockford Middle School. I'd like to thank the district and especially Mrs. Weidenfeller and all of your teachers for letting us into your building and opening your classrooms to us. We have 34 teams competing this weekend, 21 from Rockford. 19 teams are going on to the state tournament, and 15 of those are from Rockford. I'd also like to take a moment to especially thank Bob Stull from the IT department, who came to our rescue Friday night and helped get us up and running. Thank you.
Up next is Sean Edwards.
Pretty much some of the issues I've been hearing from my kids are basically time. My son has trouble getting from one class to the other, from one side of the building to the other side of the building, plus going from one side of the building to grab his band equipment to the bus. I had to pick him up today. In less than, they get out 2:30 in the afternoon, have to get 5 minutes from the locker all the way to the band class, all the way to the bus. It's not enough time. The kids need more time to be able to interact and also be able to have some time to be able to get from one class to the other. Maybe it would be more sensible to have 10 to 15 minutes would be more likely. Or as far as that goes with him, he has been struggling trying to get from one place to the other. Plus, he's been tardy for three times. But I hear he has a lunch detention, which puts him in the position to have lunch in an office, which makes no sense to me at all, for being late 3 times. One of the other things that I've been hearing from my daughter is one of the things of lunch. Why are the 4th graders going to a portable for lunch? Why is it the whole thing they can't go to their gym, sit in a seat like they normally have? That gym fits more than anybody else can fit in there. Since we're having a spring show this coming spring for the kids, it'll fit more than everybody in here. So I would think, as far as that goes, they should be allowed to be in the gym eating with everybody else. She also brought up the time that it only takes like 15 minutes to eat and then 15 minutes to have her playtime in the recess. Plus, there's only like 10 or 20 minutes for secondary recess for them. The other issues I've been trying to figure out myself, I'm not so sure about that baseball turf thing. I think it's kind of a waste of money at this point because it's a darn good baseball field, but I think it would be better used for other things than putting a new turf on it. Thanks.
And lastly, we have Connie Boulders.
Well, first of all, I have 2 points, and they're both completely different. So is it possible to have a recap with answers or the board's response to questions or issues that were brought up the previous month? Even if a board member meets with a person who spoke, I believe others would like to know the outcome. So like a new business, old business, even with people speaking. And then my second point is something I believe was not age appropriate was taught to my kindergarten grandchildren in their gym class. Take a breath. It's not one of the many hot topics at this time, but I still believe it was not age appropriate nonetheless. I will preface my remarks by saying I didn't talk to the principal or the teacher. However, I did tell my daughter about it. So, this interesting conversation I had with my kindergarten grandkids a few weeks ago was when they came home from school, and they were animated and excited and concerned, telling me how they watched the football player who fell over and got CPR. They showed me how to hold your hands when you're doing CPR, and they told me that you have to do it to a song, and also about going to get help. Then the question started, how would I know they needed help? What should I do next? My answer was to them, you only need to find an adult. And we talked about calling 911 on my cell phone and how that would happen. Personally, I don't want my 40-pound soaking wet 6-year-old granddaughter trying to do CPR on me or anyone else before she goes to seek help. I don't think any young elementary child needs to worry about this or needs to be shown someone in cardiac distress like DeMar Hamlin. Is this really in the curriculum for kindergarten?
And with that, we are adjourned.